Hello and welcome back. This is Zach at Zach Moves Abroad. Thanks for being here. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about sort of some of the realities of what it's actually like being a digital nomad family, doing the slow travel thing, not having a full-time home, and choosing this lifestyle and, sort of the implications of it. I'm going to talk a little bit more broadly about sort of the decisions, the implications of the decisions, and what it's meant for our family. Because I don't expect many of my friends or family to watch my YouTube, I'll probably be a little bit more transparent than I will be on my social media platforms, which I know they watch. So, anyway, let's jump right into it. My decisions to make this move were, I don't know, if you've watched any of our content, you probably know why, but in short, we basically had a active shooter drill at our preschool, and it wasn't a drill, there was an actual person with a firearm on our school campus. Now, nobody was hurt, I don't believe they were actually there to hurt any of the kids, they were just being chased, and they made it onto our campus, and I'm not sure, we don't really know what happened because we were told not to contact the facility while it was happening, and so we just know that there was an armed person running around the kids' campus, and blah blah blah. And thankfully, nothing happened. I'm pretty sure they caught the person, or at least chased them away, and so it wasn't no longer our issue. But that being said, we knew that at that time this is now a possibility, and no matter what, moving forward, there will now be active, drills on the campuses from now until forever, because that's just something that happens in the United States. So we had to start thinking about why we wanted to do that, or whether or not we wanted to live with that as a reality, or if we wanted to try to not live with that. Right, or sort of around that same time frame in life, just for the sake of clumping it together, my wife also broke her ankle, which led to a 5-figure bill. And that was on top of what insurance covered. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this camera, so it's taking me a while to just figure out exactly how it works. But on top of a 5-figure bill, and so we had to ask ourselves, very legitimately, is this a life we wanted for ourselves? Is this what we wanted to be dealing with? Is this the world we wanted to be living in long term? And for us, the answer to the question was ultimately no. Obviously, we ended up moving abroad. So what the implications, so what do we have to do from that point? I owned a business. I was running a small construction company. I needed to figure out how to not be so tied up into that small construction company, and what that meant was either finding a replacement for myself, which my father being the owner, I talked to him, and he basically was like, I'm done, I want to retire, I want to move on and, be done with it. So we needed to figure out how to navigate selling the business, which was a big deal, and I got to do that, which I learned a lot during that process, and it was fun. Honestly, I really enjoyed, being a business owner and being a CEO and small business manager, so that was a really fun and interesting challenge. But then, part of that was also we owned our house. We were also, involved. I was on the neighborhood housing association. So I had a lot of responsibilities just outside of, being a business owner, being a parent. Um, I ran a book club, blah, blah, blah. I was a very involved member of the community. So we were pretty tethered to our lives. So that untethering process was actually relatively complex. I mean, I won't say it was hard as much as it just was emotionally taxing and fairly cumbersome, and took up a lot of space in our lives, which I'm glad that we did. I wouldn't undo it. I certainly wouldn't change anything. But it definitely took some doing. And so, what it was like after that was, we ended up selling all of our stuff. The process we took a little bit longer than I expected. I thought we were going to be able to kind of smash it out, but we had to, we wanted to donate a lot of our things. We wanted to try to sell some things. We wanted to try to donate some things. What ended up happening is things aren't worth as much as you think they are once you start getting into the nitty gritty of trying to sell things. So you start going through that process, and then you end up just donating things, which we were super duper happy to do, and I'm fine being able to do that. And we were able to donate things to people who really needed them, and it was a really wonderful part of the experience overall, actually. But it's very time consuming, frankly. And then, yeah, once you are doing all that, getting all your paperwork ready, you're kind of in a crunch time of like getting all of your, seeing all of your friends and doing all of your final goodbyes, and doing all your last things, eating all of the last times you're going to eat at a restaurant, and blah blah blah, trying to go disc golfing for the last time, and seeing all your friends, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it can be really just, I don't know, emotionally taxing, I guess. So where am I going with this? The reality of being a digital nomad, yes, like the first parts are some of the most challenging, just because you have to really uproot your entire life. You have to really get rid of everything other than 7 suitcases or whatever it is that you're choosing to keep, and that is kind of hard. We had to get rid of all of our belongings. I mean, we had an entire house worth of things. We had all of the stuff that we had accumulated up until that point. We had all of my kids' toys. We had 4 beds. No, that's not true. We had 2 beds. We had a crib. We had, a car. We had all of these things. Now we have 7 suitcases. We had an entire house worth of things, furniture. We have now we have 4 suitcases or 6 suitcases or something. I don't know. We've downsized since we've been abroad, because 7 suitcases is far too much to actually be traveling with. Okay, so there's a lot of emotional labor involved in that process, on top of the emotional labor of telling your friends and family that you're probably not going to see them again for a long time. For some of those people, ever. There's a reality that is lurking behind the words that you're saying to these people of like, yeah, I might not ever see you again, person. Like, it's like, I love you, we're good friends, and like, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And there is, at a point when you're in your late 30s like I am, you just know, probably not going to see this person ever again. And it's just like, there's no love lost, it's just like the reality of the circumstance, So, you're going through that process too of like, we had a really good time together, and like, this is it, bro. So yeah, then you've gotten rid of all your stuff, you're getting on the plane, you're saying your goodbyes, and what you don't realize is actually going to happen next is that like relationships will start to get really taxed while you're abroad, and this is like before you've even settled in and what you're doing. So yeah, people can get really emotional about your departure. It's easier to say goodbye in anger or hatred rather than love. And so I think what happens is that people have a hard time with managing their own emotions. And so they end up, I don't know, I don't want to say taking it out on you, because that's maybe unfair, but it's kind of what ends up happening. And so like for us, we had several family members who just straight up don't even talk to us anymore. I won't name them in case they ever do watch this, but they don't talk to me, so it doesn't actually really fucking matter, honestly. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I just straight up several family members that just don't even speak to us anymore. Several groups of friends that don't even speak to us anymore. I mean, and there's a lot of people who we haven't had the bandwidth to really maintain relationships with, or like there's just, like why, it's not like we don't love them, but it's just like there's not a whole lot that either of us are going to get out of maintaining much of a relationship. And I'm not like being bitter about that. That's just the reality of it. The family member not talking to us is like drama, sadly, but you'll know what I mean once you start moving abroad. Yeah, and then you're abroad, and now you're completely, severed from all those support systems. So you now have to deal with that, and so you think you're going to get maybe some support from people, and you're not getting it. But now you're trying to figure out your new life while you are abroad, and so maybe you're getting some help, maybe you're not. Regardless of whatever's happening, if you are getting help, great. But you're still having to figure out exactly. You're still having to figure out what your new, cadence is. If you're in a country that speaks English, great. If you're not, now you're learning a new language and trying to figure out the new flow of your lifestyle in a place that doesn't necessarily speak English, and that is really, really challenging. I say that from somebody who spent 2 months in Spain. I'm obviously, right now we're in Greece, we're in Crete. People speak pretty good English here, which is really nice. But even so, you're still, there's still some guilt about not speaking the local language, and it doesn't feel good. You want to learn, you should want to learn. It's important to learn the local language, especially if you're going to stay somewhere. Being only in Crete for a month, I'm not as motivated to get fluent as I am living in Spain, so I'm actually mostly just focused on learning Spanish, frankly. I've not really stopped studying Spanish, but I haven't really started studying Greek, if I'm being completely honest. And when we went to the Netherlands, I didn't even learn Dutch at all. I didn't even try. Most people speak English in many places, at least to some degree, which is kind of nice. So all that to say, yeah, you're gonna have to start learning the social norms in those places and figuring out what's real. And if you're a parent now, you've got to figure out what's socially acceptable for parents, and what people do in X, Y, and Z situation, and what is considered normal, and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's fine for the most part. I think people do it all the time. It's not impossible. It's easier with support. If you have people who are supporting you and you have family members who are in your corner, you'll definitely have an easier time. But even if you don't, you can do it. People do it all the time. We've done it. Yeah, it can just be a little bit sadder, a little bit more isolating, a little bit more alone. But then you just have to be a little bit more resourceful with how you reach out to people, how you connect with your online community, how you establish community, how you network with people who are local. The nice thing is the world is relatively small. People aren't here to do ill by you. People are here to treat you well. People don't want to just rob you. I don't know. I think there's this sometimes perspective online of the world is out to get you. The world is not. I am walking around Crete with my camera out. No one's messing with me. No one cares. No one's even looking at me. If anything, I have had some people, they hear my accent and they're like, "Oh, American." Let's hope he didn't vote for that one guy. But other than that, they don't really care. They're just living their own lives too. So yeah, I mean, what is it like being a digital nomad? It can be a little bit isolating at times, but it's still, to kind of get to the end point, I would still 100% do it every day of the week. And the reason is the feelings that you get from being not in. There's a reason we did this. The reason we did this is the peace of mind of sort of being out of the situation that we were in. So, that constant hum in the back of your mind of feeling like you're, being very perceptive of the world around you, and, paying attention to the exits and looking around for, scanning for potential threats and crowds and so on and so forth. That goes away. It takes a second to go away. There's definitely a few moments where you're still aware of it, especially when you're initially abroad. But after a little while, you don't really think about people. You don't really think about mass casualty situations like that anymore. You're not really on that wavelength in the same way. People do just ride around on these scooter things, and that's happened in every country I've been in, and it is crazy because they just hop on and hop off, no helmet, just raw dog, living their life. It's crazy. That I still cannot get behind, but teach their own. But yeah, you don't. I don't know. I've yet to feel unsafe, truly unsafe. Walking around even at night. It's obviously I'm not walking around in hyper dangerous, impoverished areas by any means, because why would you do that? But I don't think anybody's doing that. No one's I don't think anybody who's moving to these places is actively putting themselves in dangerous situations. I think whenever people come into my comments and are like,